What's up, Christ-Centered Mental Health community? This is me, David Lee Sarche, representing Christ-Centered Mental Health, the ministry where I talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in Jesus' name to the glory of God the Father by the power of the Holy Spirit. Alright, this is going to be the third part of my video series where I'm sharing my personal testimony. If you want to watch the long version of this, and just watch the whole thing in one shot, then you can watch the long version. It's on the channel. You can watch it. But if you think it's easier to watch it in parts, then feel free to watch this in parts. But I would suggest you go back, and if you're new to the channel, I would suggest you go back and watch the first video in this series, so you can get the full context of what I'm talking about. Get the full context of my testimony. I do want to say before I get started that the channel does have a Christ-centered mental health Facebook group for those of you who are subscribed to the channel that want to interact with me, give me content ideas, interact with other subscribers, and just like be caught up to date on what's going on with the ministry. Then please join the group. There's also the Christ-Centered Mental Health Facebook discussion page, which serves the same purpose. You can like and follow the page, and the links to these will be in the description box below, so you can check them out for yourself. I do have a special announcement that I want to make, but I'll save it to the end of the video, so please hold on to the end of the video so you can find out what I have to say about that. Yeah, so I do want to say, I'm gonna try and keep this video about 20 to 30 minutes long, because that way, I'm not I'm not gonna overburden you with a whole lot of information. But I do want to say that if there's anything at all, if at any time during this video you feel triggered by something I'm talking about, please feel free to stop watching. You won't hurt my feelings. I don't want you to be triggered. I'm not sharing my testimony to trigger anyone. I'm sharing my testimony to show you how Christ has done in my life to change me from the person I was to the person I am now to the person I'm becoming. So, and it's all to the glory of God through Jesus Christ alone. I would not be here today if it wasn't for Christ alone, who saved me and redeemed me. All glory goes to God. But yeah, so so if you feel triggered at all, please don't continue watching. But if you feel like you want to watch and you're interested in hearing my testimony, then please continue watching. Alright, so here we go. Part 3 of my life testimony. I'm gonna part 3. So as you know, the last place I left off at was I talked about how Chins Up, the foster care agency that I was in, contacted my dad. They found my biological father, Brian Sarche, and they started working towards getting him to come out to see me, so they can decide whether or not they want to send me out to go live with him. So he came out to see me for 2 weeks that summer, and they allowed us to have unsupervised visits. So he took me to Joyrides. It was just kind of like an amusement park, a small amusement park in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He took me to the zoo. We went to the mall and other places. We had a lot of fun together, and it was a great time. And then eventually, around the age of 15, I went out to go live with him. They actually worked out for me to go live with him and my younger brother Mark. We went out there, my younger half brother Mark, and I went out to go live with them. We were living in a rundown trailer with 2 dogs in Victorville, California, in the middle of the desert. Those of you that are familiar with Victorville, you know that Victorville is pretty much desert land. So yeah, and I remember for the first couple months, everything was fine. We were the 3 of us were bonding really well. We were getting along. My dad even enrolled us into a Jeet Kune Do class, which is the martial art that Bruce Lee came up with. Um, and it was my first experience in a martial arts class, besides a little bit that my mom would teach me, because my mom used to be a martial arts instructor before she married my dad. She was, and that's actually how she met my dad, because he was one of her students, and so she was a martial. But other than the little that my mom taught me, like the Jeet Kune Do class was really my first real experience in an actual martial arts class. Um, I remember that um, I don't like Mark tended to be a lot more mature than me at the time. Like, so I kind of like naturally looked up to him and wanted to be like him. So whatever he wanted, or whatever he dressed like or spoke like or did, I would mimic him, which would obviously get on his nerves. Like, he was far more into girls than I was. I was more interested in playing with toys, and like, yeah, I was very immature for my age, and like I would get on his nerves a lot, and we would end up arguing a whole lot. And my dad started to encourage us to fight, to like, because he got tired of us arguing so much, so he started encouraging us to fight, and I was too scared to stand up to him, so we would just continue to fight. But then once he would like yell at me, I would just like stop like arguing with him. Um, and then like it got to the point where I got so scared that Mark was gonna beat me up, so I decided to make a run. When I found out that my mom and stepdad moved out to California, they moved out to Barstow. They moved out probably like a month after I moved to Victorville, and because my stepdad got transferred to Barstow, I decided I was gonna make a run for Barstow, California, to go find my mom and stepdad. And Mark actually encouraged this. He encouraged me to do this, but then like he told my dad, like after I ran out, he later told my dad that I ran away, and my dad told him to tell me to come back. So he called me and told me to come back, and I came back. But after that, like I became seriously depressed, and I started cutting myself. Like I cut my arms. I started cutting myself, and I started like wanting to commit suicide. So I ended up going to Canyon Ridge Mental Hospital many times. I don't know what city it was in, but I went to Canyon Ridge Mental Hospital many times for trying to one of the times I tried to hang myself in the bathroom, and my brother discovered me there and called the police. And um, like one of the times that I was cutting myself and I was in the hospital, well, waiting to be transferred to the mental hospital, my dad showed up in the emergency room, and he saw the cut marks on my arms, and he started yelling at me in the emergency room and called me effing stupid because of yeah, he called me effing stupid because of this. And like I never forgot that. Like, he doesn't remember that incident, but I remember it clearly because it was like really, it's still fresh on my mind to this very day. But like I remember after that experience, after he left the hospital that day, this girl that was there, when she overheard him say that, and she came up to me and she started talking to me and she started comforting me. Like she was like, "Man, was that your dad?" And she felt so bad for what happened. But yeah, and then like, but I had many instances. I went to the Canyon Ridge Hospital about 4 or 5 times in a span of like 2 to 3 months that I was there in Victorville. And then I remember during that summer, the three of us went on a camping trip, and my dad introduced alcohol to me and my brother, and like he wanted us to try some, and we both didn't like it. Like we didn't like it. Like my brother drank some, I drank some. We both didn't like it, but I said I did like it because I was trying to like I wanted to like I didn't want to seem like I was lame or anything. So like I said I did, even though I didn't like it, and yeah. And I also remember around this time, my dad kept like boxes and boxes of pornographic magazines just sitting around the trailer for us to have easy access to. And like around this time, like I actually like found the boxes. I would get into the boxes and pull out the pornographic magazines. And this is around the time when I discovered masturbation, and I became addicted to pornography because of it. Um, but I remember after one of my hospital stays at Canyon Ridge Hospital, they discharged me back to my dad. And I don't remember what it was, but he got mad at me when I got in the car. And he got out of the car and grabbed me by the arm and twisted it behind my back and shoved my face up against the wall or against the window and started yelling at me. And like people were walking by the car, like staff members from the hospital were walking by the car, and I started banging on the window and yelling for help, and they just ignored the whole situation. They didn't do anything about it. And yeah, like uh um it was after that reason, like I decided I was gonna give myself a huge bruise on my left arm, and I was gonna call CPS and say that he was abusing me, and well, I would call the police and say that he was abusing me after I left a huge bruise on my arm. But then when the police came down, they talked to me and then they talked to him, and it was obvious they weren't gonna do anything. They and like I told them, well, can you take me to the hospital because I'm feeling suicidal? And he said, well, do you have a plan? And I said, yes, I have a knife in my room, and if, I'm going to kill myself with it. And he went into my room and he found the knife. So they took me to the hospital. And when I was in the hospital, I told the case manager, if you send me back to my dad, I'm gonna run away. So they reported that to the state of California, to CPS, and they didn't want to deal with that. So they started making moves. They started working towards sending me back to Colorado. So they ended up sending me back to Colorado, and eventually, after a long process, I went back to Randy and Carolyn's house. And I remember when I went back to Randy and Carolyn's house, I was so excited to be back with them. Like I was really excited. I was excited to see all of my brothers, and we had a great reunion, and it was great. And that lasted. And shortly after that, after I went back to them, my caseworker Tyra Baltiera, she decided to try and she wanted to give custody to my sister Virginia and her husband, but they didn't want what just happened with my dad to happen again. So they decided to work out to send me out to Virginia and Ben's house for a 2 week trial period to see how that would work out. And after the 2 weeks, they would ask my sister how she felt about it and see if they would want me to come live with them. And at the time, my sister and her husband had 2 kids at the time, 2 little babies. Um, so I thought that during the 2 week trial period at the time, I thought it was going really well. But at the time, I was very deluded. I was a compulsive liar, and I was also lazy, and I was addicted to porn. And so when I came home, I told my caseworker that I told my foster parents that I thought it went really well. But then when my caseworker talked to my mom or talked to Virginia, um, she pretty much told them that they didn't want me, that they didn't think that it would be a good fit for me to come live with them. So and I understand like it probably wouldn't have been because I was not in a good position at the time. I would have been a bad influence on their kids, and like it would not have been good. So I completely understand where my sister and her husband were coming from, and I don't have any ill will. I don't feel any ill will towards them about this situation. Um, but I remember at the time, because of that, I ended up feeling abandoned, and I felt really despondent. And this culminated in me eventually setting my foster home on fire. Like, I thought at the time that if I could save everyone, maybe they would love me. And so that's why I set my foster home on fire, thinking that if I saved everyone, they would love me. And I remember at the time, like that night, like my roommate was sleeping out in the living room because me and him got into an argument, and he removed himself from the room and went to go sleep out in the living room. And I remember when I set my room on fire, like I stood there mesmerized by the fire for a while, and then I decided to. And then when I snapped out of it, I ran out to go get my roommate. But for some reason, I kept laughing hysterically, so he didn't believe me. So I went and got Sean, and I woke him up, and he at first didn't believe me. But then when he heard the smoke detector going off, that's when he believed me. He got out of bed and ran upstairs and woke up Randy and Carolyn, and I woke everybody else up, and we all got out of the house, and um, we 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 all got out of the house, and the EMT saw that I had like black under my nose, so they decided to rush me to the hospital, to emergency room, to get checked out. And also at the same time, my foster mom's mother, who was living with us at the time, she got rushed to the hospital too. And I found out months later that that my foster mom's mother ended up passing away. And my foster mom told me at the time at the time they told me about this, that it wasn't my fault. But to this very day, I still feel like it was my fault. Like I still feel guilty for what I did, because I feel like I inadvertently um killed my foster mom's mother, and she was the sweetest woman you'd ever meet. And I feel really bad about it, like to this very day. Um, yeah, like so this eventually led me to being hospitalized back at Pueblo State Hospital, except this time I was on the locked adolescent unit, which was pretty much, it was a lockdown unit on in the psych hospital. So there was no going to the rec center. It was always on the in the facility. It was locked down. We got to go outside, but it was in the side of a fence. But yeah, and then eventually I went to a juvenile detention center in Colorado Springs called Spring Creek Youth Services Center. Um, and when I initially got there, I reported that I was feeling suicidal, so they put me on suicide watch, which meant when I was in my cell, instead of doing 15-minute checks on me, they would do 10-minute checks on me. And they also assigned me a therapist that I would meet with on a daily. I think it was like either. I think it was. I think I met with her every single day. But yeah, they assigned me a therapist that I would meet with every single day, and I was there for about 3 months, I think. And then like I think I was there about 3 months, and then I was transferred to. At the time, it was called Southern Peaks Regional Treatment Center. It's now called Abraxas, I think. But at the time, it was called Southern Peaks Regional Treatment Center. And I was only supposed to be there for 6 to 9 months, but I turned it into a 2.5 year program, because every time I would get close to discharge, I would get scared to get out, and I would sabotage my discharge by acting out and getting restrained. And like, yeah. So, like, they kept me there for 2.5 years. And I'm not gonna go into like the full details of everything that happened in that facility, because there was, I mean, I could do like a whole entire video series about like that facility, but I'll just hit some of the highlights about that place. Like I remember um that facility when I was there when it first opened up, and there was like these riots that would go on every Sunday, because like they would just hire just random people to work there that didn't know what they were doing, and there was like these literal riots that would break out every Sunday. It got so bad that we started calling Sundays Psycho Sunday. Um, and I remember there was a therapist there that was on our unit who I learned to really trust, and to the fact that I trusted him was a big deal, because all my life I have naturally only trusted women. Like I have a hard time trusting men or guys. Like growing up, like most of my friends have always been girls, and I just naturally have a trust for girls, and only in recent years have I've been associating more with guys, but like I've just always had a natural trust for girls and women. So the fact that I trusted this therapist, his name was Dr. Robert Bell, and I grew to trust him. I told him a lot about me. I opened up a lot to him, and it turned out that he ended up getting arrested for being a child molester. Well, what happened was he was under investigation by Operation Sting, and they found that he had like 1,000 some odd pictures of child pornography on his MySpace page. Which, by the way, at the time I didn't know what MySpace was because I was institutionalized when it came out. And also, um, like, what else? And also, he was trying to pay this mother to let him sleep with her daughter. So yeah, like he did some serious jail time for that. And I remember I felt very despondent, and I was emotionally messed up when I found that out. Also, yeah, I was really messed up, and I remember the kids used to make fun of me about that. And I remember during that time, when a lot of the kids found out that hold on, I think I skipped something. Oh no, I didn't. During that time, like, um, I ended up getting like really close to some staff members there. Um, that like I remember I was opposite from the other kids because like the staff members whom I was close to, the other kids hated, and the staff members that the other kids loved, I hated. Because I felt like the staff members that the other kids loved, I felt like they were like complete jerks, and like they were super strict, and they were like a lot of them came from like working in prison, and so they had like this prison mentality. They had like this prison guard mentality, and they try to run the facility like it was a prison. I hated that. A lot of them also came from the military, so they try to run the facility like it's a military. I like the staff members who were godly people, and like they were a godly influence in my life. And like I liked this woman named Miss Lynette Shipley. She ended up becoming like a second mother to me. Like I really admired her a lot. Um there was a guy there named Jerome Perkins. He was very influential in my life. I remember whenever I would start acting out, he would grab me and by the collar and take me to my room and tell me to sit down and pull out my Bible. And he'd give me a Bible passage and have me open it up to that Bible passage and have me read it. And he did that to me all the time. I remember he used to like talk to me about the Bible, talk to me about scripture, and really he poured into me and like really mentored me. There was also Miss Shelley, Miss Jody, and I had a mentor at the time that Miss Lynette set me up with this female mentor. Her name was Pam, and she really like poured into me. She would meet with me once a week, and we would talk about the Bible, and she also became like a mother figure to me. But then when the relationship got unhealthy, Miss Lynette took her away from me, and that caused me to feel abandoned, and I started cutting again in the facility because of it. Um, and during this time, I was diagnosed with bipolar type 2, and they put me on mood stabilizers with antidepressant medications, which that worked a little bit better, but it still didn't fully help. Um, I didn't gain weight though at this time, but that was a plus. It did help a little bit better, but not completely. And I at this time I also started seeing a hallucination named Tom. Me seeing visual hallucinations is extremely rare, but I did see a guy named Tom, and he would tell me to do things like acting out against authority. Like he would tell me to do bad things, like tell people off and spit in people's faces, and it was pretty bad. Um, and during this time, I also developed bisexual attractions. Like I never acted on these attractions, thank God. I thank God for that. But I did develop bisexual attractions, and like and at the time I did identify as being bisexual, even though I never acted on those feelings. Um and because I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I got really angry with God because I felt like He made me just like my mother, and I hated that fact because I was ashamed of my mom, and because I felt like God hated me, I decided to hate Him. But since I couldn't do anything to Him, I decided to take my anger out on His followers, like Christians. I became very anti-Christian, and then it was around this time that I had my first delusion, where I thought I was the Antichrist. I literally thought the devil handpicked me to be his Antichrist, and yeah, so that lasted for quite some time. Um, um, okay, it's at the 26 mark, so I'll stop at this point. Um, like the next part, I'm going to talk about the group home I went in, because after I got out of the treatment center, they sent me to a group home because they didn't want to send me out on the street because I was institutionalized for so long. So I'll start there in the next video. Um, Thank you all for sticking it through. If you watched this whole video, I appreciate it. The special announcement I wanted to make is, um, a friend of mine and my wife's at church is working towards adopting a child, and she's trying to raise the funds to her and her husband are trying to raise the funds to adopt the child. And I was talking to my wife about this, and I was saying for those of you who feel led by the Lord to give to the ministry, um, for those of you that feel led by the Lord to give to the ministry, you can give any amount that you want to give. But if you feel led by the Lord to give to the ministry, please feel free to do so. And a portion of whatever you give to the ministry, I'm gonna give to um, mine and my wife's friend from church to help her and her husband raise the funds so they could adopt this child. Um, like we appreciate your help. It's all for the glory of the kingdom. So we thank you, and we appreciate it. Also, um, yeah, so that's what I wanted to announce. And also, please check out the Twitter account, my Twitter account, my Tumblr account. Check out my Christian apologetics blog, and and then also check out the Christ Center Mental Health podcast as well. All right, so that's all I have to say about that. Let me know what you guys think about anything I said in the comment section below. Like, I would like to hear from you guys how my testimony so far is having an effect on you. What you guys think about what I'm talking about, sharing my story, and yeah, anyways. So have a good day. God bless you, and stay blessed and stay strong in the Lord. All right, bye.